What's up, man? How's it going?
Good. Busy day. I know there's a lot going on today, but I was annoyingly busy.
It was nice at work because it was kind of a slow day. So most of my coworkers they wear headphones when they're on their desk, and so thankfully very light in meetings today. So I was like, okay, cool. I get to listen to the earnings call in the background while I'm working. So it was nice. It was nice. A lot of nuggets in today's earnings call.
That's amazing.
But yeah, hopefully you get the chance to listen to the it's always nice to listen to it in like 1.5x plus speed or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
That way you can listen to it a couple more times because I'm definitely going to listen to it a few more times just to make sure I get every nugget out of it. But man, it was a hefty one. It was definitely a hefty one. So
I like hearing that from you because again, I haven't heard it yet, so I'm gonna
yeah.
definitely watch it. And if it's that good, I'm probably gonna watch it a few times to get everything everything out of it because I feel like you're making it sound like there's some amazing things coming up. So I'm excited to hear it from you.
Yeah, and like I said in the green room, I will say that this earnings call was almost exclusively for like long-term visionary investors, like the ones that are really in it for the next decade, because it wasn't for institutional in that, hey, we're gonna finish the year at X number, whatever it is of deliveries. It's more so, hey, here's the status of Optimus, here's the status of Energy, here's the status of Robotaxi, even though I still feel like they were a little beating around the bush on Robotaxi, but it's fine. Here's the status on V14, and then here's the status on Cybercab production. And so there's just so much meat on the bones for a long-term investor that I think you really kind of be able to squeeze out a lot of juice, when you're listening to it once or twice. Uh, the To summarize, and I feel like we can talk about it for an hour. It would have been cool if you had listened to it too. That way we can just kind of balls to the wall. Uh, but the main takeaway that I got is one. Let's just get Optimus out of the way. Optimus, still a lot of work to be done there. Elon stated that once you see Optimus V3, you'll almost think that it's just another human in a robot costume.
Sick,
It's that fluid.
sick.
And so once that comes out, you're gonna be so convinced that it's a human, but really it's a robot. Like you almost have to. He said you almost have to touch it to like confirm it's not a human. So that's gonna be sick. So that's Optimus. We probably won't see ramping of Optimus production for probably like another 12 to 24 months. And Elon again in this call pointed out how the hand is the difficult part of Optimus. And it's one thing for it to be difficult on from an engineering standpoint. It's another thing to manufacture millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of these pairs of hands. Everything else may be doable, but for the most part, Elon stated there's no supply chain for robotics. There's supply chain for cars, there's supply chain for phones, there's supply chain for everything else in the world, but for robotics there's no supply chain. So Tesla needs to keenly focus on hyper verticalization of Optimus. And so, of course, that's one aspect from an operational standpoint. The other aspect is November 6th, the earnings call. Sorry, not the earnings call, the shareholder meeting. Elon, in this call, he made it kind of for I guess, his last little hurrah, abundantly clear that he does not feel comfortable mass producing an army of robots if he doesn't have like a significant ownership stake in Tesla.
Yeah,
Enough. Like for him, obviously, you and I kind of see it. Most people don't, but you and I see it. A lot of long-term Tesla investors see it that Elon's not really in it for the money. He's in it just to make sure that he's not building an army of robots that can oust him. Should DI or ISS or all these different kind of like the what are they called, the index fund managers,
hmm,
like should they kind of just vote a particular way that is always against what the board recommendation is for Tesla. And so Elon at the end of the call, and you'll hear it as well, he got a little heated, calling out like ISS and all these kind of like index funds, and how they usually always vote against what the board recommends, and it's bad corporate governance. It's bad for growth, not only for Tesla but just for overall any enterprise, any company, any
yeah.
Fortune 500 company. So that was one thing. Optimus, we're still on the very low end of the S curve. It's going to be a while before we see that ramp. And then two, Elon really wants to make sure he locks in on November 6th the his ownership stake in the company, and then of course everything that comes with it, his compensation package and all that stuff. So that's Optimus. For Robotaxi, I didn't get much. Maybe I need to listen to it again. But it seems like it's so funny with the say.com questions that they do. They try to ask like five questions in like one question. It's kind of funny. So basically, in a nutshell, they try to get metrics on how's Robotaxi doing. The biggest thing I got from that is that Robotaxi is expected to expand to, I think, like 5 to 8 more municipalities, I think is what Elon referred to it as. So you have different states now. You have obviously California and Texas, but then you also have Arizona, Nevada, Florida. So hopefully they expand to more cities by the end of the year. I don't know, he didn't call out the 150 million or half of the U.S. population in this call. At least I didn't catch that. So I don't know if that still stands, but he said like around 5 to 8 kind of municipalities or regions, for lack of a better way of explaining it. So I mean that's
Gotcha.
good. I mean that's 2 more months of robotaxi expansion, not only in Austin and Bay Area, but in other cities as well. So maybe even LA, I would imagine. He didn't call out explicitly LA, but I would imagine LA is high up on the list as well, top 10 for sure. So
That's
that's
wild.
go ahead.
Sorry, that's wild to say 8 places. That's really good. I'm happy to hear that because we only have 3 months left. So
Yeah.
for it to open up in 3 places, that's gonna be amazing. I did see that they said that it was gonna, if something's up or whatever, it's gonna be remotely fixed over in Austin by end of year. That's the goal.
Okay. Remotely fixed. What do you mean?
Uh, they won't need someone in there. They just want someone to like boot in real quick if there's an issue and then fix it.
Oh, you're talking about removing the safety drivers,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
safety monitors? Yeah. Yeah. So he did say that. That's a good call. Elon did say that by the end of the year, the expectation still is that they'll remove the safety monitor from the cars in Austin. They didn't really talk about like expansion of cars. I guess one thing to expand regions and then have like a handful of cars in each region. But in Austin specifically, he didn't call out, hey, we're going to expand to 1,000 robotaxis once we remove the safety monitor, which I imagine like that is like a very feasible path once you actually remove the safety monitor, because the reason you're removing it is because you feel incredibly confident that the version that it's currently running on, V14, is 99.999, several nines%
yeah.
capable and safe. And that was another thing, and kind of a nice little segue to the V14 update that Elon gave. I don't know if you were about to say something on about that right now, but if not, I'll jump over to
I was just
V14.
gonna say about this. I don't know if you saw the safety stat. They put it on X, but it was
Every 6 million miles.
yeah, 6 million miles. We're basically like 4x like 4x any like 4x the amount of like possible accidents or whatever comparable to the average driver.
Yeah, I don't know because I forget. I think they said it in the actual earnings deck and they posted it on X, but I think they said, hey, one accident per 6.2 million miles or whatever it is, compared to like one accident per every 700,000 miles. So I think it's almost like an order of magnitude less, almost, right? 6
Yeah,
million to 700, like let's just say 600,000. So
yeah,
it's almost an order of magnitude less in accidents per mile, so, or yeah, whatever, per mile accidents, whatever. And so, I mean, that's a great stat. And I think somebody called, I was listening to a couple of the, the Tesla fluencers or whatever they're called. And they were talking about how, I think it was actually Hans Nelson. He pointed out that, and you and I have stated this in the past, that Elon a decade ago, I believe, said for autonomy, the sweet spot is kind of like 6 billion miles
yeah,
of self-driving, of autonomous miles, to kind of get into regulators' ear and have them support autonomous regulations. And
yeah,
so I think that's huge that we're kind of at that point now. And obviously this is separate from one accident per 6 million miles, but now transitioning over to FSD miles, like we're getting close to that 6 billion. I think we've surpassed that 6 billion mile mark in FSD. And it was nice that they highlighted that it's both autopilot and FSD. So kind of like anything that has some sort of autonomous driving a component to
yeah,
it. So that was great to hear that it's not just autopilot. It's not only FSD. It's kind of the whole kind of enchilada.
yeah, yeah,
And so now segueing into V14, obviously you've probably seen some videos here and there on kind of how V14 is performing with the early access users. For
yeah,
the
yeah,
most part, it seems to kind of be passing with flying colors. Everybody seems to be blown away by its capability and just how quickly it reacts to things. Obviously, the one kind of low light, so to speak, would be that the what's it called? I'm blanking here, but the braking, the sharp braking, the brake stabbing or whatever they're referring to it as. And
yeah.
so Elon alluded to that in the meeting. He didn't call out the brake stabbing or anything, but he alluded to it and saying, "Hey, the first point releases of this new version is mostly focused on safety. So that's our kind of number one priority. And then the .2 point release, the 14.2, like that's where we'll kind of, smooth out the edges, out the kinks, all that stuff. And it'll be more of a V13 or V12.6 kind of experience where it's a little bit of a smoother experience, a little more comfortable as opposed to, just kind of, I refer to it as FSD on crack a little bit because it's like constantly looking for like,
Yeah, yeah.
different scenarios, different things that could happen, and so it seems like it's ultra sensitive to a lot of mostly humans. Like if it sees a human, it's like, oh shoot, I better stop or something. But it seems like it's ultra safe, which is good. This is what you want. So
Yeah.
yeah, 14.2. I haven't gotten V14 at all on mine yet, but I told you I definitely We'll shoot you a text once I get it. And then I'm okay with waiting. Like I'm enjoying 13.2.9. It's fairly smooth. Obviously, it doesn't react as fast as maybe V14 would. And so
They're
I'm looking
saying
forward to getting 14.2. Go ahead.
they're saying new subscribers are getting 14.2 or 14.1.
Yeah, right now it's 14.1, I think it is.
Yeah, any new subscribers are getting 14. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that was another thing that they actually, for the first time ever, I think, stated in the call that the take rate for FSD right now is 12%. And I don't know how I feel about that yet. I mean, I guess from the standpoint of, hey, the technology wasn't quite ready up until like now, I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. But now that it's ready, at least by the end of the year for sure, it's going to be ready. I think you need to do what you can to like get the word out, because if it's ultra safe and you have 7 million, 8 million Tesla
It's a
vehicles
safety
out
thing
there,
at that
it's a
point.
safety thing. Exactly. And obviously not every Tesla vehicle out there has hardware 4, but I imagine maybe like 3 million vehicles out there have hardware 4. Because I even thought, okay, there's 7 million vehicles out there. Maybe, let's be generous and say 8 million. And then 12%, that's only like 800,000, 850,000 cars that have FSD, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not that much, which is
Uh,
again from the standpoint of, hey, the technology wasn't ready. For me, it's been great for the last this entire year, since 13 came out last November, I think it was. And so now I think is the time to get the word out. And those that have Teslas have hardware for, like, it's highly recommended that you at least subscribe for the safety of you and your family,
yeah.
and so hopefully they get that word out at some point, once they polish it all up, and it's a truly autonomous, like, you don't have to worry about taking over at any point in time. It'll literally drive out of your wet driveway, park you in the parking lot, or even at that point, you'll get banished by the end of the year, and you can just kind of like get dropped off in the front, and then your car will go park itself. That's supposedly coming by the end of the year. That was another thing that they called out. And sorry, I'm just regurgitating everything that they said in the
No, you're
call.
good. You're good. You're good.
But another thing that they said by the end of the year, and Ashok said this, not Elon, but Ashok, he said for sure by the end of the year, 14.3 or 14.4 will have reasoning. So basically, it'll be able to go into a parking lot, and this is the what Elon used as an example. Your car will go into a parking lot, let's say a Costco. He didn't call it Costco, but let's just say a Costco. And then it'll look at the parking lot and see kind of how dense it is as far as how many cars are parked there. And then reason to itself saying, okay, if there are this many cars in the parking lot right now, going literally to the front of the store will have very low probability that there'll be any parking spots available, which is true. You go to Costco and like the whole front row, you're never going to find parking there. You're going to have to
Yeah.
sit there for like 30 minutes to see if somebody actually leaves and whatever. So the car
Yeah.
will actually see the front of the store and right away reason, okay, there probably won't be parking in, like, call it the first, I don't know, 50-foot radius of, or 50-foot diameter of the store or whatever, like I'm butchering it, but so it'll have that reasoning capability once it enters a parking lot. And so at that point, and then that's where Elon came in and said, yeah, at that point the car will be able to just drop you off and then go park itself, and you don't have to worry about it. You'll be able to banish it, and then eventually obviously summon it as well. So I thought
Yeah.
that was super exciting that by the end of the year, maybe a holiday update, we'll be able to kind of like banish our cars and then go to a store or go to a Costco, have it go park itself. I don't think I would want to summon it at a Costco because there's just so much traffic there, but to be able to just, banish it and then just walk to it, walk half the distance, like that would be super cool.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like all on the on like the robotaxi of FSD front. Cybercab begins production in Q2. You may have seen Farzad. He called out how he's very convinced that Tesla's going to start producing a Cybercab with steering wheel, pedals, and side view mirrors.
Yeah.
I think Joe Tegmeyer caught a few drone shots of the Cybercab with the side view mirrors and steering wheel and all that stuff at Giga Texas. And so it seems to me that things are kind of aligning in a way where Farzad there's a chance he's not wrong. Even though we've heard time and time again, Walter Isaac's book, all this stuff that, hey, Elon doesn't want to create a cybercab. And even, I think both Franz and Lars have both stated, no, they don't want to make a cybercab with a steering wheel and pedals. Um, but just from a regulatory standpoint, because right now you may have heard this, this famous $2,500 or 2,500 unit per year production of like of vehicles without steering wheel and pedal regulation right now that there is federally.
Yeah.
So it's highly unlikely, especially because Elon over the last couple of days, I haven't read up too much on like what's going on there, but Elon the last couple of days has kind of been taking jabs at Sean Duffy, the Department of Transportation guy.
Mm.
And so it's like, dude, you're biting the hand that feeds your autonomous regulation, like what's going on here? And obviously he's also going to be leading NASA and all that stuff. But I did find that interesting that right now there's that regulation where you can only produce 2,500 vehicles per year, federally speaking, that have no steering wheel and pedals. And so one, Tesla's either going to have to get a waiver soon, or two, they're going to have to like revamp the regulation federally to allow Tesla to mass produce these things. And so knowing how how bureaucratic institutions work, it's very unlikely that we'll get that sort of regulation anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so Farzad's reasoning is that, hey, especially now that Tesla said that they're going to start production of the Cybercab in Q2, why would they start producing, especially if they want to start ramping? Obviously, they're not going to ramp to 100,000 vehicles in the first year or anything like that. But if they're going to start production, um, and if it is in Q2, you could reasonably imagine that you're going to produce more than 2,500 vehicles in 26. And so, one, from a regulatory standpoint, you're probably going to be manufacturing a Cybercab with wheels and pedals. And then, two, you want to make sure that your manufacturing lines are in high utilization rates, right? Like you don't want them to sit idle because you already produced 2,500 vehicles in like 3 months, and then what do you do for the rest of the year? You just don't use the production line, So,
Yeah.
that's his logic, which I don't disagree with. Like it has validity to it. I hope he's right. It would be super cool to see a cybercab with steering wheels and pedals. I think it'll sell well, and then of course if it is steer by wire, which it will be, you can just pull out the steering wheel and the pedals and then boom, you got your cybercab, no steering wheel, and it's a robotaxi, So that'll be interesting to see what actually comes to fruition. But I would say that Farzad's take is not outlandish.
We've talked about it in the past, and
Yeah.
I said the whole like they try to keep the rear view mirrors from coming out with the Cybertruck, and it didn't work out. So I
Yep.
didn't see how they would do, like, as much as I would like a Cybercab with all those things missing. I said, like, I don't know, I don't see them coming out with it because of the fact that there's just so many regulations on just the mirrors.
Yeah.
So imagine just taking everything completely out. I don't. It's
Exactly.
really, I really hope that there's something going on, and I hope that maybe they prove enough that Tesla can just drive on their own without having to do all that. But
Yeah.
it's tough. That's a tough one.
Yep. Exactly. So again, I think you and I are aligned that I think Farzad's take it has some weight to it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was Cybercab and Cybercab production in Q2 of next year. Five billion in free cash flow, which is crazy considering that they're spending money on OpEx and CapEx on Optimus and Robotaxi, right?
41
Cybercab,
billion, I think we're at now.
41 billion in cash, and so it's kind of crazy that they were able to make 5 billion of free cash flow there. And then of course right now the shining star is and will be a shining star at least for the next several quarters is energy. Energy is just in such high demand right now that uh, you know that Tesla will have demand for many years to come, especially in the
Yeah.
age of AI. Compute needs you don't have compute unless you have energy. So yeah, Tesla's always going to have demand for that. So it is nice that they have that sort of like first layer foundation in energy, and so hopefully not only from a residential standpoint as well, they can continue to make a dent uh in the energy sector a little bit. So
I
overall,
watched
I
a,
feel go ahead.
I watched a video on X, and some guy was evaluating Tesla Energy to being a $5 trillion
Market cap
market cap for that, and I was like,
by when?
uh, they put 2035.
I can see that. I mean, especially at this rate
Yeah.
of how much we need in energy production. And I love how the sentiment or kind of the inclination is to focus on like on site like energy production,
Yeah.
like not have to deal with, because you know how in the past we've talked about the three layers of a utility, which is like
Yeah.
energy production,
Storage.
transmission, and distribution.
Yeah.
And so production is one thing, and then the transmission of all that energy in this aging grid, every day it just gets worse.
Yeah.
And then distribution, right? So those things are just incredibly difficult to like uproot and replace with new architecture, new infrastructure.
Yeah. Takes too
And
long.
so what's that?
It takes too long.
Takes too long. Yep, too long, too expensive. And so right now, like the only way forward is to do like on-site energy production and storage.
Yeah.
Like having your own little microgrid at home. Thankfully, I'm grateful to say that I'm a beneficiary of that in that I have Tesla Solar and Tesla Powerwalls at my house, and so it is nice to know that all that is being generated and stored at my home, even though I'm technically still connected to the grid. Like it's not like I have to rely on SDG&E to build out this infrastructure that pull obviously there's a lot of solar already, but then stores it in a mega pack or a mega block and then sends it to a transmission center and whatnot, right? The whole nine yards.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just on site through and through. And so I think that makes the most sense for anything that needs energy these days, especially data centers. You don't want to rely on a utility. You kind of want to just produce everything there and have it stored there, and you don't have to worry about it. So anyway, I think there's a tremendous amount of upside for Tesla Energy, and so I think we're just going to continue to see that ramp over the next several quarters on how energy is continuing to explode. You know, the sleeping giant that's it seems to be waking up for Tesla. So yeah, all in
Yeah.
all, I feel like it was a great call, especially for nerds. Oh, and I guess to top it off, and I know I'm giving a lecture here. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry about that. But
No, no, that's
to
good.
top it off, there was one question on why Tesla decided to go with Samsung versus TSMC for hardware 6 or AI 6. And then one thing that stood out that I don't think we really knew was that for AI 5, I think everybody and their mother kind of knew that TSMC was going to be the ones producing AI 5. But now we learned today, Elon told us that TSMC is going to be producing it in tandem with Samsung, with Samsung's foundry. And so it's going to be TSMC, Samsung on AI 5. So that way, Samsung kind of starts getting the cogs rolling on, hey, we know how to produce Tesla's autonomy computer, you know? And so when they get to AI 6, it's like full steam ahead for Samsung's foundry. And so
Yeah,
I think and so that was the thing that was one of the things that he called out. And another thing is how you look at Nvidia, for example. Nvidia has to create chips that cater to multiple different customers. So multiple different customers might have different needs, might have different specs that they're looking for.
yeah,
Whereas Tesla, in collaboration with Samsung, like Tesla just has to focus on what chip do we need specifically to optimize autonomy to the best of its abilities. And so
yeah,
Tesla is its own customer. And then in collaboration with Samsung, it's like it's a match made in heaven, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so really what that indicates is like Tesla can really focus on, you know, fully optimizing that chip to get the most out of its potential. And then, you know, obviously you start getting into these more, conceptual kind of ideas of, hey, you might be able to get distributed inference down the road where you can, if your car is parked in your garage every night from 12 to 6 a.m., Tesla could potentially tap your car over Wi-Fi or whatnot, and then use your car as like a distributed inference asset. I think it's a little more highly technical than that. Like, I don't think like off the bat it's going to start making money for you or anything like that. But I think that's more of like a 2030 play of, hey, Tesla cars are potentially AWS kind of, data centers, micro data centers in people's garages, kind of like that. So that'll be pretty cool down the road. But right now, obviously, it's just more in principle and concept than it is like actually going to happen, right? So, but yeah, to summarize, I would think it was a great call, especially for, like I said, long term Tesla investors that are in it for the long term evolution of the technology, of autonomy, of energy, of robotics. For me, I came out kind of feeling more confident, more conviction in the company that they can achieve it. Obviously, I think for me personally, and I think I speak for a lot of investors, the final domino, the final catalyst to fall will be November 6th. Once we hear that Elon's compensation package has been approved and ratified, then all bets are off. All bets are off. It's like, okay, we locked in Elon. He has his, not only his compensation, but he has secured the the ownership stake in the company. And so right now, hey, Tesla team, Tesla AI, Elon, go ahead and cook. Do your thing.
yeah, yeah.
So I
I
think,
think it'll be
yeah,
fine. I know they're talking about it a lot, but I don't see why it wouldn't pass. And I know he put emphasis into it. You were talking about it in the green room how he put emphasis on the fact that some people are like voting against it, voting against the wishes of the board. But I feel like it's one of those things where I don't know. Sometimes Elon focuses on things that like don't need attention. I guess
yeah.
like
Well,
randomly he'll and it's important. Don't get me wrong.
mhm.
It's important to call those people out. But I feel like he does it to a point where it's like just leave it alone. Like who cares?
the the reason why I agree, firstly, that I don't want to say it's in the bag, but very
No.
high degree of confidence that he'll lock it in, especially because you got your Vanguards and other institutions that are BlackRocks that I think even this last round where we voted for his 2018 compensation package for the second time, like even then it passed with like 70% or whatever. And so that was the thing is like even the institutions that had a second chance, that kind of, a quasi second chance at voting no when they initially voted yes back in 2018 or whatever, they still voted yes. And so I would imagine, hey, here's an even more grandiose compensation package for Elon. Like we're talking about law of big numbers here. Like if he achieves these things, like he's probably the only guy on the planet that can achieve it. At least over the next five years. If he achieves these things, shareholders win big. Like
Yep.
you win big, right? So because it was on Elon's back and his team, of course, he has a great team that helps him get through it as well. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I agree that high degree of confidence that it should pass. I think it's good to not be complacent, but at the same time, because I remember even with the shareholder meeting 2023 or whenever it was, 20 whenever it was that we voted again for Elon's comp package from 2018. I remember kind of being concerned that, hey, maybe we vote no against it, like especially now with all the noise around Tesla and Elon and the obviously how polarizing Elon could be. There might be a little bit more kind of what's the word, tough blood or whatever the term is.
Yeah.
And so and so the fact that it passed, I'm like, okay, that's reassuring. Gives me another level of confidence that hey, it should pass come November 6th. So I think it's just a matter of kind of waiting it out. But it's 2 weeks away, kind of roughly. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I agree, high degree of confidence. And then going back to what you said, I think Elon bringing it to people's attention, I honestly believe it's worthwhile, not just for Tesla, but for any company, because these guys do kind of dilute corporate governance, in the sense of like they're always going
Yeah.
to vote against. It's almost like they're the inverse Kramer, so to speak. They're always going to vote against whatever a board recommendation might have for their proxy, and so
And
it's
I don't
tough
get
when
why would they do
yeah,
that. I don't understand it. I also feel like when we voted the second time for Elon's comp package, I almost want to say like 10% of that 30 that said no to it was basically thinking like, oh, he doesn't have to get paid now because he already did the job. Like,
right,
we can vote no so that way we don't have to pay him and we got our worth out of it and
yeah,
that's good. And I feel like some people voted that way, and it's like the only reason you voted that way is because of greed at that point, because
totally,
the man he should get paid for what he did. At the end of the day, I'm big on like if you did the job, you should get paid for the job. It's pretty simple. It's not that's not like super complicated. I don't think that should be like a hard to think about situation. But
right,
I think I think the idea of him 8xing our worth on Tesla stock is going to be ridiculously enticing. I don't know why anyone would vote against it. And if it does, again, if it doesn't hit, then he doesn't get paid. It's that simple.
yeah.
You don't lose saying yes.
That's the thing. It's like it's so simple, but yeah, I still feel like people will still screw it up. Like institutions will still screw it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, if even if Elon loses, you still potentially win because the market cap could still be at whatever 5 trillion or whatever down the road, and you're still winning. If you invested right now, you could potentially 5x your money. And so
Yep.
and Elon could potentially still not get paid. Let alone all of the tranches, but at least some of the tranches. Like he could hit a $5 trillion market cap, but he could still only hit like the first 2 milestones or 3 milestones, or whatever it is. But then he wouldn't get paid for the 5 trillion. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think it's a win-win for shareholders. Like I can't see why people would vote against it. So yeah. But then the other thing, going back to the index funds and stuff, it's like it really sucks that, especially because index funds are so popular these days, right? I
Yeah.
personally don't really care for them, but not financial advice or anything, but I'm not saying they're bad, but it's unfortunate that those that manage these index funds, and I'm not saying everybody, Vanguard's good, BlackRock might be good, whatever, but some smaller hedge index fund managers, like they might abuse that, where they'll receive money from investors that they invest in the 401k and whatever in these index funds, and then those that manage the funds will use the voting rights of people that invest in those funds to vote against whatever is the best option in whatever company's
Yeah.
proxy. And so that's what Elon is kind of trying to raise a red flag on is, hey, this isn't proper corporate governance. It's just shadow people that can throw off the trajectory of a company's growth, because
Yeah.
they decided to oust a CEO or whatever, and just I don't know. It does seem weird to me that that's how things are currently set up. But anyway. So
I know Elon says these things because he's fighting against these things, but I feel like when it comes to the index fund stuff, I feel like a lot of the people, it sucks to think this, but a lot of the people who do the index funds things, it's just a set it and forget it kind of thing, and they don't want to really
yeah,
think about it that hard. But then you allow someone to think for you, which is even scarier. I feel
right.
like us. I'm not a big fan of index funds. I feel like if I was doing index funds, it'd be for one of those things where it's like I'm gonna do a dividend index fund where I'm just gonna keep getting my money's worth and just be done with it kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
situation.
You get that
But
cash flow. Yep.
yeah, and then at that point, it's again I would understand for those people. But then again, it's still uncomfortable to think that someone's thinking for you. Um,
Yeah.
but at that, I feel like if you do that, then you should be good money wise. But I I don't see why else people would do it at any time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it does suck that those people exist, but I feel like the Tesla shareholders. The great thing is that a lot of us who believe in the same things that the company does, a lot of us own that. Like it, there's no, we don't. A lot of us don't go against the grain on some of the thought processes, and I feel like if we felt that way, it would show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, again, I'm happy to be in a community where everyone really cares this deeply about who is getting what. So yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
super cool that's the community mindset.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree. I'm proud to be part of a shareholder community that actually like advocates for like a fair and equitable process in anything regarding, not only being a shareholder in a company, but even within the company, just the overall governance of it. So, uh, but yeah, yeah, no, overall, I think it was a solid day. It looks like we might have like a buy the dip opportunity tomorrow, is what it's starting to shape up like.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely getting a little bit of not financial advice, not investment advice, but I personally, for myself, and I'm just a dummy, I'm personally getting a little powder ready just in case.
Yeah, yeah. Personally, I'm okay right now. I
Yeah.
haven't bought in a while, and I'm not in a rush to buy right now because I'm just riding the waves. Um, I'm happy where it's at, and I'm happy if it goes up. I'm happy if it goes down right now. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not affecting me. I know a few people who have been buying, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now is the best load up opportunity I think, and not investment advice. Even though I'm not buying, like, but that's because I
Yeah.
feel like I don't need to. But I do
Right.
think
Right.
that for the people who feel that itch and feel like the opportunity there, it makes perfect sense. If Elon
Yep.
does what he does, if the voting happens and Elon gets what he wants and we get what we want from it, yeah, 5 to 8 to possibly 10, maybe even 20x would not be out of the picture from here in
Yeah.
2030 to 2035. Like it just doesn't. It's again not investment advice, and right now I sound like an idiot for not wanting to buy right now, but like anyone who is in that position to be able to buy it and like wants to, probably should if they want to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that your current take is very sound in that, hey, we've just skyrocketed over the last couple months, right? Not only Tesla, but just the overall market. All kind of seems to be a lot of it hinging on this AI hype. And then, we're not even gonna get started on like the circular kind of investment slash revenue investment on, Nvidia, AMD, OpenAI, like
Yeah,
all these different companies. Like that's a whole different story. But it's definitely good to kind of take a step back and say, hey, it seems like we're a little frothy. Just I don't want to say
yeah,
it's a house of cards, but it definitely seems like almost anything can spook the market a little bit.
yeah,
And obviously the last couple of weeks with the current administration kind of bringing back up, bubbling back up the trade tensions again, with China and stuff. Who knows if that's just a little bit of theatrics or whatever, or if it's actually just, hey, stuff is hitting the fan with China, we got to like make sure we stay strong or hold firm or whatever. So
yeah,
whatever it might be. At this point, it seems like we're in a state where, the market could kind of collapse at any moment in time. Uh, and
yeah,
so we could go down easily on Tesla. We can go down and easily, 25, 30, 40% over the
yeah,
course of, the next few months if the whole overall macro, kind of falls apart. So I think it's sound that you're kind of staying put and kind of waiting to see what's going on. I might just dabble a little bit, just, hey, on November 6th, very high degree of probability that Elon's comp package gets ratified. So I think after that, it's like, hey, especially if the street sees, hey, we locked in Elon or Elon's locked into Tesla for the, next decade. Okay,
yeah,
now's the time to go in, because right now they're going to look at everything and be like, right now there's a risk that they don't approve his compensation package and then you lose
yeah,
Elon, and a lot of the multi-trillion-dollar growth over the next 10 years is Optimus.
yeah.
Elon said himself,
For
80% of Tesla will be Optimus.
Yeah, for us, the biggest thing is I feel like we've been around and watching Tesla for a long time, so the shakeup
Yeah.
of Tesla going down that much would not be a surprise, and it wouldn't affect me mentally at all. But I feel like a lot of the people that I talk to, I always tell them like, hey, it's a great opportunity, but don't forget, like we're Tesla
There's
investors, so
volatility. Yep.
there's volatility, and if there's a shakeup, we're the ones to lose our hats and every piece of clothing possible before
Yeah.
we see something crazy again. And I tell them like, and that's okay. Like I know it sounds ridiculous to say that out loud, and for the people who are not used to that, it's like they you should get used to it because
Yeah.
that's just Tesla for you. And the day that Tesla stops being so volatile when it comes to that stuff, it's gonna be a great day. And I feel like it's such an interesting time right now because of the fact that it hasn't. Every time they come out with something, it hasn't been going under 400. So that's all. Like that's such a like. It's been very peaceful the last few months. The last like
It
what
has
2
been. I would say for
so
sure the last, 1 to 2 months.
yeah, and I
It's
hope
like, yeah, 400.
nothing wrong happens, and I hope that like it just keeps going up, and then we find a new floor. That would
Yeah.
be amazing. That would be so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. I think I don't know. I feel like a new floor to be established, and by new floor I mean 500, 600 plus or whatever. Like
Yeah,
for those new floors to be established, I think we need to start seeing meaningful dollars starting to flow into the P&L for robotaxi. Like if we don't see that, we're still going to hover around this 400 mark, maybe 300 potentially if progress gets delayed or whatever.
yeah,
So I do think, if robotaxi starts expanding, you start removing the safety monitor, then I think, okay, yeah. Not only are we seeing a few dollars in the P&L, and they don't have to be like I don't know, I'm not saying they have to make $5 billion in profit
Yeah,
for a robotaxi in the next few quarters, but if they start making, you know, half a billion or a billion over the next, you know, and I'm saying kind of cumulatively over the
yeah,
next 4 or 5 quarters, I think then you're gonna start saying, okay, all they got to do is just kind of ramp at this rate, and we're at a $3 trillion market cap or whatever the number is. You know, like I'm just kind of
yeah.
throwing numbers out there, but so yeah, remains to be seen. But very very exciting. It's always exciting to be a part of to be a Tesla investor, but right now it's very exciting because you're starting to see like the actual first innings of launching these products. You know,
Yeah.
Cybercab Q2 production next year. Obviously, robotaxi is already out there. It's a matter of expanding to different geographies, expanding also the actual size of the fleet, and then Optimus. That'll be kind of like the holy grail. But I expect nothing meaningful from Optimus for another 2 years.
Yeah, and then the sleeper energy.
Energy, of course, energy. It's so funny. Maybe it's because it's not sexy, you know, but it's a moneymaker. It's a
Yeah,
moneymaker. Like you can't deny it, you know.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't
That
know,
was a
man. I'm just
sleeper. That was a
stoked.
sleeper, and that by itself will make us a ton of money.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you know, Elon a long time ago said, right, that energy is probably going to be just as big, if not bigger than the auto business. And by auto business, I actually mean like car deliveries and sales and stuff. Not
Yeah, yeah,
obviously not robotaxi. But
yeah.
yeah, man, that's all I had. I know that was just like a brain dump of everything I
Nah,
heard
nah,
in the call,
that was
but
great.
it was exciting.
That was great. I can't wait to watch the full thing and just get back to it next week with me and you, and then just think about like what is it that went down.
Yeah, yeah. It was nice that we waited until like today for the earnings call. That way,
Yeah,
the next time we chat, you know, it's just a few days away on Monday. So, yeah. So looking forward to kind of letting the earnings call kind of settle,
sit.
let it digest over the next couple days, and then of course, you know, hopefully V14.2 comes out in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Hopefully by the end of November for sure. By Thanksgiving would be ideal. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah.
hopefully I'm not asking too much, but so yeah, a lot of exciting developments in the coming months and quarters and for sure years.
I want
So
to add one thing, and this one's interesting because I didn't have enough time today to do anything. But
yeah.
I went over to OG with all my friends, and Carlos asked me the question. He goes, "Did you hear about them talking about the soft V14?" And I said, "Oh no, I didn't." He goes, "I thought you were on top of it." And Carlos Tirado, you know, he's over here
Yeah, yeah.
giving me a hard time about it. And I was like,
Good yard time.
I was like, I didn't have the time, but that's really cool. And he said, I thought you were supposed to be on top of it. And I was like, so shout out to Carlos for letting me know some tidbits that I didn't catch today. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
really
yeah.
excited
He's starting to get
to
ahead of
like,
it.
yeah, I'm excited to just get all that information into my head today. It's gonna be great because you just gave me a small rundown, and I just can't wait to like really digest everything and be like and figure out like where the holes might be and like because that's my like my favorite thing is just understanding what everyone's mindset is and going, oh, okay, but what about all these things? Because when Farzad started talking about that stuff, I was already thinking like there was no way that regulation's gonna let that stuff slide anytime
Hmm.
soon. And the idea of having a bunch, I'm cool with the idea of the robo taxis having all those things for a while, and maybe Tesla makes it in a way where it, like can detach after a while or whatever and replace it. Because then at that point, you know, we don't need a lot of those things. Like if we do like steer by wire and then like pedal by wire and then like have these guys just pop out of place, the rear mirrors and stuff pop out of place after you're done. I don't see why that should be a difficult thing. Like it just boop boop boop, take everything out and then let the car drive itself and be done with it. Um, yeah, I don't. Until regulations do their thing, I feel like that should just be a thing that they can just do.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Cause
So,
yeah, you know, things are slow. I forgot what it was. One of my students told me they were like, there's a, oh, it was my assistant actually with one of my students. They were like, there's a three row Tesla, and I said, oh yeah, that's the Model Y, and he goes, but it's only in China, and I said, yeah, but that's because of regulations out here. It's and like the way the infrastructure is here to be able to release cars and like change out a dime. It's a lot easier to produce products out in China because at that point they can move things around. Regulations won't stop them, and then eventually once they get the right like formula, then they will bring it out here. And it was just such an interesting thing to be getting asked that um,
yeah.
outside of like me and you having this conversation because I don't know what other people are thinking because we understand that, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be talking about it because I feel like that's one of those things that like for us it's like oh no duh, but for the
Right.
regular like people they don't see there's so much blockage when it comes to some of the stuff that Tesla is doing and trying to do.
Right. Yeah. There's so much that people just don't see and know,
Yeah,
you know? So,
yeah,
but cool, man. Well, yeah. Yeah, that was a exciting one. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on what you thought once you hear the earnings call and obviously hear all the Tesla influencers on their take as well. So, So yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to that as well. Just hearing all their takes and kind of what they got out of it. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm hyped. Thank you so
sweet.
much. Peace.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Looking forward to chatting next time.
Later.